Welcome YouTube. Guitar pedal nerds. You. I have a shitload to do, including a very quick demo of the hypergravity that I just got from TC, and it's brand new and I want to shoot that out to you guys. But something's been bugging me, and I decided to do this video because I lay awake, I lay awake. I was lying awake. I was awake last night. Couldn't sleep because I was thinking about how to do this. I got a little bit pissed off. Okay, so I'm trying to spec out Nick West's board. I'm building a pedal board for Nick West, who is the bass player for Prince now, and some other things, and doing her own thing. Nick is amazing, and she's beautiful, and she plays bass, and she hates pedals, or she doesn't use pedals. So I got tasked with building her board, which is a huge honor. And I said I take care of everything, and I don't know a lot. So for some things I really need help. So I called, because friends of mine said call this guy, he knows his shit. So I called the guy from Looper's Paradise, that's a store here in Germany. And for some reason, immediately he was an arrogant prick. I'm sorry to say that. No other way around that. I can say that on YouTube, right? This is free speech here. I wanted to ask him, I said, look, I know my loopers and I know my switches, but you have a little bit more overview over all the ones. I need this and this and this. And then he's like, well, you need the Gig Rig G2. I'm like, yeah, okay, but that's over $1,000 and it's way overpowered for what we need. It's the only one that sounds good. I'm like, okay, but we need something a little bit smaller and the function, it's too much. Daniel Steinhardt is building amazing boards. The Gig Rig is a company that most certainly does great stuff. And I hope I get the stuff in here to show you guys. But it was out of the price range and it was overpowered and too big for what we needed. It's 44 centimeters wide. We need less than 43. So, and then he's like, well, what power supply are you going to use? And I'm like, well, I was thinking about a Cioks, but I also have the... or Cioks, I think it is called, but I got ROCKBOARD, and I've got a whole bunch of possibilities, and he's like, no, you can only use the Gig Rig, the generator and all that, all that cool stuff that Daniel always puts on his boards, which is a cool system, but it starts as the base pack at, I think, €380. That's, how do I put that? It's a little bit crazy, okay? I'm sure it's a good system, but if you have a couple of digital pedals and you need some special things, you'll easily be ending up at $600-700 for your power needs. I mean, we're talking about, come on, $400 for the base pack? It's power. And the guy said, but there's big differences, and the only one, he's selling a lot of other companies, the only one that really has the dynamics and sounds great is that. Sounds great. I understand that there's problems with power supplies getting into your signal, into your cables, because it has too much wavy stuff around it. Emissions, whatever you want to call it. I understand that. It needs to be shielded. It needs to be isolated for some reason so that pedals don't power-wise talk with each other. See, 2 weeks from now, the owner and guy behind Cioks or Cioks power supplies is gonna come here for the whole weekend, and we're gonna answer any power question you have. So any question you have about power supplies, what is isolated and why? Why do I need 300 milliamps for my Strymon pedals? Can I do less? Can I do more? Why 12 volt? Why 18? What's 24? That's a show. It used to be a pretty good show. Anyway, any power supply questions, you write me underneath this video, and we're gonna have a power party here the whole weekend, and we're gonna film all of it, we're gonna build boards, we're gonna talk about any kind of questions about power supplies. The one I want to answer for myself right now is, are there really huge differences in sound? Now, sadly, I don't have the Gig Rig power supply here, which would be, of course, the fair comparison, because he said it's the only one that can do it. Highly doubt that. I have a whole bunch of them here. And the ones that I have, I'm going to show you. We're going to put them on a board with 3 different sounds and really see, are the sounds different? Now, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm going to show you the setup, you listen, and you tell me what you think. Okay, I'm going to give you rough prices because the prices for these things differ. Some of them are prototypes. So here we go. We're going to compare the sound of power supplies. Any questions you have, AC, DC, whatever, not the band, you ask, and in 2 weeks from now, Paul Cioks, that I think that might be his name, still not sure. He's going to show up, and we're going to answer everything you never wanted to know about power on a pedal board. Power on a pedal board, that sounds way cool. It's an alliteration with 3 P's. Pedal board power. No, B, board. That's a B, that's not a freaking P. Whatever. So I'm just gonna go left to right, okay? Actually, no, I'm gonna go kind of small to big. Let's do this. So I've got this here from my friend the Joyo. The Joyo Power Supply 3, which I think is pretty much identical to a lot of power supplies from China. It's kind of only like even a sticker on there. No, that's a Power Supply 3. It's a 2000 milliamp power supply that goes into this plug and then goes into a daisy chain. So we're going to daisy chain all of these. I heard from my friends at Yankee that you cannot put digital pedals in the same chain. They always need to be isolated. So this might not work at all. But we're gonna try it. Daisy chain, 2000 milliamps. Let me see. 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. It's already 500. The MISO needs 50 or 45. Should be totally fine. So, Power Supply 3, but there's similar ones around. Then we got one that has battery power inside, okay? It's a portable power, but you can also plug it in with this AC adapter. This is the CALINE portable power, which is kind of a nice idea to actually use this on your board and not be tied to this. If it works and sounds good, my friend Crimson, Le Diable, whatever, he's a freaky guy with a beard and no hair. Who has no hair? He seems to like these because I saw him use them on several of his boards. So we're gonna check this out. In terms of chassis, at least, they're not the same because this doesn't have battery power. But in terms of chassis, pretty similar, huh? In terms of size, it's the same freaking chassis, okay? Those Chinese. Actually, no, this is bent around the corner, and this has caps on it. So it's the same size, but it is actually a different build. This is the Joyo Power Supply 2. The Power Supply 3, I think, is like under 50 bucks. The CALINE, I can't tell you, but definitely under 100. Power Supply 2 by Joyo is about 50 bucks. That's very cheap for a power supply. 8 outs each with 100 milliamps. Output number 8 has 500. We're not going to use anything that needs more than 100 because some of these can't handle it. So no Strymon pedals. We're not looking at that. We're looking at how does it sound. And then we get a 12 volt and an 18 out. It's powered by a DC 18 volt power supply. This little thing, okay? So we're looking at that. Actually, we're listening to that. Still staying in China, we have the huge ass brick Joyo Power Supply 4. It's heavy, it's thick. It's pretty much, the idea is it's a Voodoo Lab Power Supply 2, is that what it's called? Kind of along the same lines. We have 500 milliamp outputs, then 250 and 250, and the 8th one can only be 12 or 18 volt. It does not, be careful, it does not fit under a pedal train or Joyo's own PBB. So, it might have to go on top. I'm putting all of these on top anyway. So, this is supposed to be a very rugged and good sounding power supply. For the weight, definitely has to be. Then we're looking at the, that's about 130, I think. Also 130. They just updated this. This is the older version, but still great. The CALINE Pro Power. 8 outs, output number 7 and 8 have a little bit more power, I think 250 or something. Pretty straightforward. Outputs 9 to 12 volt. And you can switch which one is 12 volt for either one of them, 1 through 8, with little dip switches. Okay, so very nice and stable power supply. We're gonna see. Then we have the Moen MISO, the MISO 8. Moen isolated 8 power supply. Very shiny red. I think it also comes in black. Outputs 1 and 2 can be regulated from 9 to 18 volts. No, actually the first one can be from 9 to 18, the second one from 5 to 9. Then we have 9, and first one's 50, then we have 100, 100, 100, 100. These 3 to 6 can be 9 to 12 volt, and the last two have 350, so you can power your Strymon with maybe even tights. So a lot of options in here, which is also, it's 180, 190, so it's not the cheapest power supply, but a lot of options in terms of power. I skipped a couple over here, so we have the power plant, very popular in the budget world. I think it's 39 bucks, Harley Benton, power plant, 8 outputs with 500 milliamps max, which to me means these are not really isolated. If it says 500 milliamps max on all 8 of them, first of all, that's not a lot, and secondly, that means they're not isolated. Well, we're going to find out what that sounds like. And then there's one at 12 volt with 500 milliamps and another at 12 volt with 500 milliamps. But 8 outs, not isolated. What's next? Well, let's look at them. We have the Power LT from ROCKBOARD. It's also a little battery powered thing. You charge it with USB. Has 2000 milliamps as a whole. 2 outs. Probably not isolated, probably doesn't need to be isolated because it's battery powered. So, we're gonna look at this battery thing. It is fully charged. Then we have the ROCKBOARD Power Pit. Okay, that is, it has a nice display. I've never actually plugged this in. You can select voltage here for, I don't even know how this works. For the first one, 9, 12, 15 or 18 volts. That's a highest 150. Then there's 3 of them where we have 210 each, and then 4 of them have a combined output of 500 milliamps each. So you can power a big Strymon pedal or a digital pedal with it, but it's sharing with 3 other ones. So make sure you don't put 2 digital pedals in there, if this is true what I've heard. Which brings us to, sadly right now, the only Cioks that I have, the DC5, but this is quality. I mean, you touch it and you know it's quality. So, the DC5, it fits under the pedal trains Metro and Nano, the small boards, because it's only 3.1 centimeters thick. Has 5 outputs, 100, 100, 100, 300, and 300. Each of them can be 9 or 12. Very cool in that size. Also not the cheapest, I think it's about 170. Brings us to serious fucking power, the Yankee HSM10. This is the prototype. It's going into full production now. This will cost you probably around $280, something along those lines. We don't know yet. We have to find out once they're out. But this is a powerhouse of a power supply. Output 1. 12 volt, 9 volt AC, or 9 or 12 DC with 1100 milliamps. Output 2 can be 9 or 12, 400 milliamps. Output 3, also 9, 12, 15 or 18, 400 milliamps. Same thing, output 4 can be 6, 12, 18, 24, 400 milliamps DC. And then we got 9, 9, 9, and 9, each of them with 400. So the smallest output on this 8 output power supply is 400 milliamps. One of them has 11 and can even be AC. So this is serious power. They're not fucking around. This is serious power, okay? This is the most advanced power supply in the world. I'm not sure that if it's gonna say that on the production model. Probably does. It's got 16 outputs and 100, 100. 100, 100. 400 at 9 and 12. 400 at 9 and 12. 2000 at 9, 12, 14 AC. 2000 at 9 DC, 12 AC, 16 AC. 2000 at 9, 12, 14 AC. 2000 at 9 DC, 9 AC, 16, blah, blah, blah. Read about it. These four can be completely set up in any voltage you want from 9 to 20, from 0 to 24 volts. Crazy powerful. You cannot get this thing to its knees. I've tried. I've had 40-something pedals on there, including an M13 from line 6 and everything. So this is pro shit, okay? This will probably run you, I don't know, way past 500 bucks. But that's a serious power supply. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to smack him on this board. Which I built just now. Let me show you what's on the board. We have 3 dittos. First of all, because I like my friends from TC. And secondly, I'm going to play 3 loops. One of them kind of like a metal-y kind of chunk thing. Using the throttle box from MISO. I didn't want to use any cheapo pedals because I didn't want any of you to say, well, if you have a great power supply, you know, it only shows its possibilities with the great pedal and not a cheap pedal, which is of course bullshit. I'm sorry, cheap pedals sound just as good as expensive ones. But we have a throttle box clocking it at 350 bucks. It's a good pedal for a drive sound. So we're gonna pretty much just straight looper into this. So you're always gonna hear the same riff. The second looper is gonna run us a clone type sound with the POB Pedals of Babylon. Zentastic, can I lift this? Zentastic Mark II. Into the Red Repeat by Carl Martin for some delay. So we're gonna have these 2 active. And then the last one, we're going to have a clean sound, where many things get revealed, through the hypergravity compressor and the Hall of Fame reverb. Okay, so this is the setup. Metal sound through the MISO, lead sound through an overdrive into an analog style delay, and a clean sound through a compressor and a reverb. All of these, all of these pedals have been wired up with Evidence Audio SIS cables. Screw in solderless. There's been a big discussion on my channel on how to say this, and I don't give a flying rat's ass however you give this. Here is a rat's ass. It has been flying. I don't know, we're still trying to figure this out. SIS, Evidence Audio, extremely high-end patch cables, so the cables are not sucking anything here. We're going in and out of the board with Evidence Audio, the Melody cable. These are about mid-priced, we're gonna call them. They're not the most super mega high-end cables, but each of these 3 meter or 4 meter cables will run you about 80 bucks. So it's not a cheap cable by any means. This is good quality. So this is what we're using. We're going into the Carl Martin Custom Shop 50 because this is as true in sound as any amp can possibly be. You hear every single detail. And I guess that's it in terms of guitar. That's a good question. What should we use? We're gonna use my Modern Eagle. PRS Modern Eagle. Yeah, that's flexible. For the clean sound, we're gonna go to single coil. The other ones we're gonna do humbucker. And well, that's pretty much the setup. Now, I'm not gonna comment on this. You listen, you make up your own mind, okay? Because what the fuck do I already know? I'm sorry, I completely forgot something. The other thing that you're going to see me do, because we gotta be thorough, I'm going to take the open plug and move it over the power supply so you can hear how much interference is going into the plug, which doesn't mean into the cable. The plug is very vulnerable. But I'm still moving it over the power supply so you can hear the differences. And then, while it's plugged in, I'm going to move it over the power supply, just the cable, so you can hear the interference that the power supply will have on your cables on your board. Okay? We're gonna see if that does anything. Now we start.
Can you see me drown? You're not the only one who's down, and I sing a song for you. This is not